Left of the box. Nazi military monument removed from Ontario cemetery. Huh. This must be an old article, huh? Old, like ancient, like this seems absurd. March 11th, 2024. Yeah. Huh. A monument commemorating Nazi-led military unit of Ukrainian soldiers has been removed from an Ontario cemetery after years of controversy surrounding the site. You don't say. You don't say. Huh. Oh. The monument, located in St. Volodymyr Ukrainian Cemetery in Oakville, paid tribute to the 1st Ukrainian Division, a Nazi unit predominantly comprised of Ukrainians who fought in the Second World War. Now remember, in Parliament Hill, the Prime Minister and a whole bunch of people gave a standing ovation to a former Nazi. This country has far too much sympathy for the Nazis. But it explains why the Israeli government is getting so much support right now. Yes, I am comparing the two. It's like if you talk like a goose and you step like a goose, probably a Nazi. The 1st Ukrainian Division, also referred to as Waffen SS, Galika Division, and the SS 14th Waffen Division, dominated headlines 6 months ago after Hunka, a veteran who served in the unit, was invited to Canadian House of Commons, where he received a standing ovation. Liberal MP Anthony Rota immediately resigned as Speaker amid criticism over the decision to invite Hunka. It's a memorial to soldiers who served for the Nazis in the Second World War, one of the greatest atrocities of the Jewish people, and it does not belong in Canadian soil, Oakville-based Rabbi Stephen Wise told CTV News Toronto. Wise is part of a group that has been calling for the monument's removal for years, which Dan Pennington, with Friends of Simon Center, described as glorification of Nazi military unit complicit in war crimes committed during the Holocaust. Now, you see, the thing is that we have these memorials like this, Nazi memorials, and we also have memorials for the victims of communism all over this country. And I just go back to the main shot. I find this all very interesting because I finally watched Oppenheimer, and I didn't like it. It wasn't. I didn't think it was a great movie. I was very bored throughout all of it. I understood why other people thought it was a great movie. But one thing I just couldn't get over was how hostile they were to communists in that movie. And in reality, the American government and the Canadian government, how hostile they are to communists. How sympathetic they are to Nazis. And it just always blows my mind because I don't find being called a communist as an insult. I don't necessarily define myself as one, but it's not an insult. Being called a Nazi, I think, would be, well, anyone who would call me a Nazi, obviously it doesn't mean anything because I'm not. But, that shouldn't be taken as a compliment. And yet, so often, it's just kind of like, whatever. And I just, like, what is so evil about what communists want versus what Nazis have done? It's just, I don't know a lot of the ins and outs of the political history and the theory and all that sort of stuff. I'm not read up on it, but it just seems so bizarre to me that they seem almost far more afraid of communism than they are of Nazis. And, there are very capitalistic reasons behind that and white supremacist reasons behind that, I feel. Anyway, back to the article. The cemetery confirmed the monument was being removed to enable repair after the consultation with the descendants of the 1st Ukrainian Division, who fundraised for the establishment of the monument in 1988 and continue to own it. The cemetery did not respond to follow-up questions on whether the repairs meant the monument would return. However, Wise, who was involved in the discussion on the removal, said, "It's not going to it's not going to be back. He argued that it should be placed in a museum of tolerance in Winnipeg as a historical artifact. Or just break it down. It doesn't need to exist. Like it doesn't need to exist in any way whatsoever. A monument for Nazis, it doesn't need to exist. The monument has been defaced with graffiti several times in the last few years, recently seriously damaged by vandals, a spokesperson said for the cemetery. Yeah, good. We shouldn't have these monuments around. Adding the string of attention in the last few months, photos of neo-Nazis standing beside the monument surfaced pledging allegiance to the division in October after a Hunka standing ovation. As a Canadian, and as a Jew, and as someone who believes in democracy, it was just frightening, Wise said.